Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. The SEC has been sued yet again as a result of their nonsensical approach to the entire crypto space. Here's the headline from Cointelegraph. Artists sue SEC over confusing security status of NFTs. You'll love to see it. And now that it's very obvious to judges that the SEC isn't exactly acting on the up and up, it just makes it that much more likely that what should be done is going to be done in such situations. I'm also going to share with you perspective from attorney John Deaton, who of course is running for Senate against Elizabeth Warren. Got a couple things on from him actually. First of all, he's sounding a very serious alarm, a very serious warning as it pertains to the United States national debt, which just hit a very sad milestone. And also, he had a bit of advice for Vice President Harris, and suggested that if she's really serious about changing things up and becoming pro-crypto and having an honest conversation, there's a very important first step you need to make. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, so into this first piece we go. And this is really fascinating. Like, this shouldn't be a thing. People shouldn't have to do this, but they actually do. Two artists have sued the United States securities regulator seeking answers on whether non-fungible tokens fall under the commission's authority. Attorneys representing the plaintiffs, law professor and filmmaker Brian Fry and songwriter Jonathan Mann, sought clarification on which acts could trigger U.S. securities laws when creating and selling NFT art. So I will pause to note, and I'll highlight this. For those of you looking at the screen, that's Jonathan Mann anyway. And here you can see he has his profile on social media platform X. 16 years of song a day, and that's literally true. This guy, and I was aware of him before this actually. I found out about him at some point within the last couple of years. He writes one song per day about various, it's not all crypto stuff, mind you, of course, but every now and then there are crypto songs, and he had one about Algorand and Gary Gensler in the SEC, and he was kind of making fun of Gary Gensler and stuff. Happy to see that. And so he wrote a song, by the way, I don't think it's mentioned in the article, but he also wrote a song today on the day that he's suing the SEC. He wrote a song about suing the SEC, and it's actually pretty hilarious. I wish I could play it for you, but I don't have permission to do that. But this is it here. So you can hunt it down, you know, on social media platform X if you want. It's a little less than 3 minutes. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny here. So he said here, I've been writing a song a day for 16 years and 211 days. Today, I'm suing the SEC. Yes, this is real. And oh, yes, indeed, it is real. Anyway, the piece from Cointelegraph continues, though. Here we go. Attorneys have asked whether artists need to register their NFT art before selling it to the public and whether they must make public disclosures about the risks of buying their art, the July 29th court filing shows. And so there's this post from attorney Jason Gottlieb, proud to represent my client and friend Jonathan Mann in his brave and unfortunately necessary lawsuit against the SEC. Art is not a security, and musicians working in a digital medium should not have to hire expensive securities lawyers just to release music. Ain't that the damn truth? And so this is why it's so important what we have done in the XRP community. We've all played our role to one degree or another, right? And so I give the most of the credit, of course, to Ripple and John Deaton and all of the 75,000 XRP holders that he represented. But anybody that was, making their voice known like on social media, like all of it adds up. So like we all did our part in a way, right? And it's just cool to see that although we were just about the first through the gate, the first really serious lawsuit through the gate in the world of crypto as XRP holders, the fight continues. Now, the good news is I still believe that, in all likelihood, the worst is behind us. Like the war's not over, but there have been enough battles that have been won. You can see the tides have changed. And if you look at public sentiment, you can see that the public's not going to stand for this nonsense. It just ain't going to happen. But anyway, piece continues. Fry and Mann's attorney used Taylor Swift concert tickets as an example, arguing it would be absurd for the Securities and Exchange Commission to class NFTs as securities. And this is great. Like, think about the logic of this. Check how they break this down. It's a perfect example. Swift sells concert tickets, which are sold on the secondary market, and she makes statements to promote those events. But it would be utterly nonsensical for the SEC to treat Swift tickets or collectibles as securities, the attorneys argued. Quote, while Jonathan Mann and Brian Fry differ from Taylor Swift in many ways, in the context of this lawsuit, they are in exactly the same position. They are artists, and they want to create and sell their digital art without the SEC investigating them or filing a lawsuit. End quote. The lawsuit requests declaratory and injunctive relief against unlawful enforcement actions from the SEC on NFT projects launched by Fry and Mann. I'll just pause to say also, it's smart that they're being proactive, because if they're going to do stuff, there's always that risk if you're going to launch something that they could come after you. And if you're a small fry, perhaps it's not likely that's going to happen. If you're like the tiniest of tiny, I know they have picked out some what we would call smaller projects. Like you could talk about like library, for example. But library, even if you want to call them small, like that's the library coin. That's way bigger than what we're talking about with NFT sales with these artists. Like even like this would be on a micro level compared to library even. But still, it's smart to do this. Like I personally would, if I were going to do anything, I'd be willing to take on zero risk of that kind anyway. Absolutely not. If not for this, who knows? Maybe even I would have done something, because there are all sorts of people in the crypto space that for fun launch their own collections of various things in the NFT category, and who knows? But for me, I've always been like, nope, hands off, absolutely not a freaking chance, because you don't know. And then like, am I going to go through the? Well, I'm glad that they have the not just the resources, but the fire in the belly to actually go after him. Happy to see that. Anyway, piece continues. The SEC brought its first NFT case against YouTube channel and podcast Impact Theory last August, claiming it encouraged potential investors to view the purchase of Founders Key NFTs as an investment, and that investors could expect to profit from those purchases. Is my mic picking that up? Do you guys hear that? That's I don't know if the mic's picking it up. My dog, so when I record videos, just a quick aside, when I'm recording videos, about 100% of the time, my pet peeve is under the desk, right by my feet. My pet peeve is my 9-year-old terrier mix. She's a sweet little doggy, 9-year-old doggy. She is currently experiencing doggy dreams, and she was making woo-woo-woo sounds, so I don't know if the mic picked it up, but I thought I'd mention it, because if I don't mention it and you hear that, you're like, what the hell is that in the background? Well, she's so adorable, just doggy dreaming down there. She's probably dreaming about XRP, because I keep talking about it as she's sleeping. So it's in her noggin, right? Anyway, so I'll continue. Where the hell was I now? Oh, right. So I'll just reread that part. So the SEC brought its first NFT case against YouTube channel and podcast Impact Theory last August, claiming it encouraged potential investors to view the purchase of Founders Key NFTs as an investment, and that investors could expect to profit from those purchases. But Fry and Mann's lawyers strongly disagreed with the SEC's allegations. And they said, quote, imagine if the SEC found that Taylor Swift songs or collectibles were securities, or were securities if merely released in NFT form, and ordered them to be destroyed, end quote. Yeah, and see, that's the thing, and that's the risk. And in a separate quote, they said, it sounds far-fetched, but that is exactly what happened to Impact Theory and SC2, end quote. Yep, that's exactly correct. The lawyer also said, quote, the SEC's approach threatens the livelihoods of artists and creators that are simply experimenting with a novel, fast-growing technology, or have chosen it as their preferred medium, end quote. And so clearly the SEC's on the wrong side of history. No question in my mind about that. It's sad we have to go through this, but good on them for bringing the good fight, right? Because this is what it takes, sadly. Then there's also this, shifting gears here. Let's talk a little bit about attorney John Deaton. He shared this just this morning. He said, the U.S. national debt has reached an unprecedented $35 trillion. Let me show you how huge a number 1 trillion is. 1 trillion seconds is equal to 31,710 years. And folks, I'll just say this. The next sentence is more shocking to me. Check this out. $35 trillion equates to $103,827 owed per citizen. And now think about that. So if you're being born into this debt, if you're a little tiny baby getting born today, in today's dollars, you currently owe $103,000. It's just growing though. It's just disgusting. Like the spending is completely out of control. And so what we truly have, well, I'll share with you what John Deaton says and then I'll share a thought. But so he writes, we cannot tax our way out of this mess. Likewise, we cannot cut spending enough to solve the problem. Taxing and spending cuts are not enough. We must grow the economy and lift people out of poverty and expand the middle class. It is the only way. Okay, so I certainly agree that you can't tax your way out of this damn thing. That's ridiculous. And all that's going to do is ultimately, if you tax enough, you're just stifling the economy anyway. And do you really think that the government's like a a better decision maker than you as far as what to do with funds, just broadly speaking? I'm not saying there's no role. Of course, there's a role for government, but I'm just saying. So right now, too much money is going there. You don't run your household like this. I certainly hope not anyway. Are you spending more than you take in on a regular basis? Is that what you do? That's not responsible. And so I would actually say, you can have a balanced budget. And if you want to fix this, that is actually what it takes. And as a result, the other party's talking about just the economy growing, uplifting people. That would all happen as a result of this anyway. But it really is more simple. It's a question of, conceptually, it's more simple than what some would acknowledge. But what are you going to cut? See, and that's, the devil's always in the details there. And so, but things need to be phased out over. You have to get rid of something because the truth of the matter is we don't have a problem taking in a set amount of money. This is just a factual thing. I'm not going to go, it would be outside the scope of this video, but it is the case that we're not having trouble in terms of revenue collected by the government. That's not the issue. The spending's out of control. And so if you reduce that and you have a balanced budget, then let a decade or two or however long it takes pass, and then you won't have debt. It can be done, actually. That's the only way to do it. Now, there's absolutely no appetite for this to happen. I think what's actually going to happen is things are going to crumble further. You'll hit this breaking point, whatever that ends up being. I don't know when that's going to happen in the future. And then once it breaks, then there will be an opportunity to rebuild because nobody has an appetite to actually fix this thing. And it's not even from a political perspective, even though it makes logical sense from a political perspective, it's not easy to say, hey, we need to reduce entitlement so-and-so. So I understand the struggle there. But he's right here. Like, this is a serious warning. This can't persist, though. So I broadly agree with John Deaton, but I would just emphasize the only part where I'd slightly respectfully disagree a little bit is I'm like, no, you just balance the budget and then let time pass and then the savings accrue, basically. And then, so the debt goes down. I would, like, that is a real thing. And a few decades ago, we actually did have a balanced budget, briefly. And then there's this headline, XRP News. John Deaton urges Kamala Harris to fire Gary Gensler. And I'm not going to read the article. I'm just going to show you the source of what resulted in that article existing. And it's this post from John Deaton. He shared this literally yesterday. He wrote the following. And he's just hitting the nail on the head here. The single most significant thing Vice President Kamala Harris could do to demonstrate she's 100% serious about a reset regarding Bitcoin, as well as fostering a digital asset economy during her administration, is to demand Gary Gensler's immediate resignation. Arguably, no single person has caused more harm to individual investors than Gensler, including SBF. First, Gensler's policy of regulation by enforcement is a big reason investors and customers looked to offshore companies like FTX in the first place. Second, Gensler met with SBF multiple times and has refused to turn over any notes, emails, or correspondence between Gensler, the SEC, and SBF. We all know Gensler's been taking orders from Senator Elizabeth Warren. She literally told him what to say when he testified before the Senate. VP Harris asking Gensler to resign would go a long way in demonstrating good faith. Yeah, spot on. Golf clap for that one 100%. And it is true. Hopefully you guys are aware of that last bit too. She did literally, the question she was going to ask in Senate, she gave them to Gensler ahead of time. What the hell kind of dog and pony show is this? This is a bunch of crap. It's just completely disgusting. So John Deaton's correct. And I just got to ask, do you think that that VP Harris run for president now? Think she's going to push to have Gensler ousted? Because I'm thinking the answer is probably no. I'm thinking there's about a 0% chance that that's going to be a push from her. I'd love to see it though, and I'd be all behind. I'd be happy. I'd make an entire video dedicated to that if she does. I would absolutely be supporting that. I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's about a 0% chance. But would be happy to be surprised, you know. But yeah, show something. Make a good faith effort in something in the world of crypto, because we're just not seeing on that side of the aisle. We're just not. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.